All right. Our first thing we're going to talk about is what does it look like when we start putting graphs together. Okay. So let's first talk about what f plus g of x is going to look like, and we'll think about this one in red. Okay. So I'm going to take each time we're going to be adding our two together, right? So when x is 0, f plus g of x is going to be 8. So it's right there. So far it looks like the linear line, right? What about x is 2? X is equal to 2. We get of x is going to be what? What's fx equals 4? What's my y value going to be? 9 again. f6. It's not technically f of, it's f plus g of 6. F plus g of 8. 6. And f plus g of 10. Oh, because I was just testing you guys. What did we say it was? 6, okay. That looks a little bit better. So when I graph in red, kind of looks like that, doesn't it? Huh? A stick figure Superman with a cape. Got it. Let's do in blue. F minus g of x. What's f minus g of x of 0? So f minus g of 2. 5. F minus g of 4. 3. F minus g of, what am I, 6? 2. F minus g of 8. 2. F minus g of 10. It looks symmetrical, doesn't it? Looks like, yeah. All right, let's look at how about f times g of x, and let's make this one. We'll make it like purple. Maybe that purple. Maybe this purple. With this purple. That looks like good purple. All right, purple. F times g of x times g of 0. F times g of 2. 14? Whoa! So now we're like way up there. All right, f of g of 4. Even higher. F of g of 6. All right, so that's a little bit down. F of g of 8. 8. F of g of 10. The plus and minus ones look like they had to it, right? Yeah. Well, let's look. All right. Before we get to the plus or minus symmetry, multiplication to see if it has symmetry, let's look at the red and blue line real quick. If you look at, I'll use black, at this, with that kind of relate right here, wouldn't it? Right there. So what it looks like is we have both types of symmetry. So we have both. We have that type of symmetry, right? It's over this line, right? So it's kind of interesting. All right. Yeah, but it's not really that difficult to correct anyway, right? But you should be able to look right. right, let's try the division one, see if there is some type of symmetry there. I'll do that one in, how about like orange? All right, so let's do f divided by g of 0, undefined. That's not really symmetrical. How about f over g of 2? 3.5. How about f of 4? F over g of 1 2/3, 1.6 repeating. What about 8, or f over g of 8? 2, again, and f over g on the second time, right? Something like that. Okay? Now, that's what we got so far plugging in points. Would you guys believe me if I told you that these are going to go as they get closer and closer to 10 and 0, where they get closer and closer to that undefined? It's going to get closer and closer to the number, but more and more up. It's the same thing, where it's going to get closer and closer, but it's going to get more and more steep. Will it ever touch 0 or 10? Just a little bit closer. Okay? Does that make sense? Yeah. Because 0 is on the bottom of the fraction, right? We can't put anything. There's going to be something called an asymptote there, which we'll talk about in a later chapter.
So you were saying that that's why that just goes on forever?
Yep, y goes to positive infinity, but it gets closer to 10, but never touches 10. Because at 10, what number's on the bottom of the fraction? 0. So if 0 is on the bottom of the fraction, then that's when it gets closer and closer to a number and makes an asymptote. So composition functions are a different type of operation, right? Instead of the standard addition, subtraction, multiplication, division ones that we've talked about. All right. It looks like two things. Either it looks like where it's kind of got a set of parentheses inside of a set of parentheses, right? Or sometimes I use this little o, and it's called f of g of x. Okay, one or the other. Yeah, it kind of looks like fog. So let's look at what it means to have f of g of x. All right. So let's look right here. F of x. F of x is square root of x, right? If I told you that we're going to do f of 2, what would you put on the right-hand side of the equation? Square root of 2. You take whatever's in the side, and you put it where x is. Okay? What if I put in f of 2x? What would you put on the right side? Square root of 2x. What if I put in f of 4 subtract 2x on the inside? Square root of 4 minus 2x, or negative 2x plus 4, right? Whatever way you like it. Now, what do you guys notice about that right there? What do you notice about what we put inside there? It's g of x. So instead of saying 4 minus 2x or negative 2x plus 4, instead of saying one of those, could I say f of g of x? And it means I'm going to take out x for my f function and plug in g of x. G of x is 4 minus 2x, right? So if you see this, okay, if you see this, this is how I always figured out what it said, okay? So I take my f of x, which is here, right? I'm going to write out all the operations, but I'm going to put parentheses instead of an x. Okay, give yourself y, so you got kind of room to right? Got it? So all I've done, this is, right here, that's f of x without the x, right? Then I'm going to plug in g of x. Now I look over here at g of x and I say, okay, inside my parentheses, I'm going to put 4 2x. Now we have f of g of x. Huh. Okay? Now, right here they're asking what's f of g of 0? What's this? Just tell me what I'm going to do. I'm going to take, we're going to take, plug a 0 right there. I'm going to say square root of 4 minus 2 times 0. It's everything. So we get 2 times 0 is 4 minus 0, 4. So we get the square root of 4, which is 2. What's f of g of 0? 2. Okay? Rewind a little bit.
So f of x. So f of x. When f of x was the square root of x, okay. Choosing to the parentheses.
Now let's. It might. For example, let's talk. So let's talk a little bit about why we talk about operations. So when we first started talking about functions, I said functions was something that you could, like when you have an action, there's a predicted outcome, right? For example, I think I used the TV remote, right? If I hit R of the up button, okay? So if I have the remote and I push the up button, what happens? The TV goes up one channel, right? All right. Now let's say I've got Felipe. I've done some Maslow's stuff, right? So I've done some like hypnotherapy or whatever. Okay. So say I got a pen. I click like that. Felipe. Huh? No. Felipe asks what he can do. You know, he's like, hey, do you need anything? Right? So that's, and he's like, oh, do you need anything? So I've trained him, okay? So let's say this is a Felipe of a click. Okay? Right. And so this Felipe says, can I get you anything, right? All right, and he just kind of blacks out until it's done. Right? So what if I said, I told you, the remote, what would this mean if I wrote that? What's the action?
You want Felipe to change the channel.
Yeah, I do the clicks. Felipe says, can I get you anything? And I said, why don't you press the up button on that remote? Okay, so this is the operation that's happening, right? So you guys can kind of visualize, like, I mean, it's easy to visualize addition and subtraction, but to kind of visualize what this is, right? We're getting one thing to do a second thing for us. Okay, so it's kind of a chain reaction. All right?
When you do those, actually with mathematics, we're going to have click is going to be.
Yeah, so click, instead of click, it might be like, you know, it might be 2. That would be our x value, our input. And that 2 then in turn gives us a y value, which we'll plug in for the second x value. Okay? So let's practice a couple. Let's practice a couple before we get started, just so we can kind of see what it is. All right? Actually, that's our homework stuff. So maybe let me look at. One of the composition functions. How about I'll do like 20, I'll do 24. Okay, it's not one of the ones you have to do, but it's a lot like 23. So on this one, they give us f of x is 2 minus x, and f of x is square root of 3 minus x. And they want us to find f of g of 1. Yeah, so this is the same thing. The other way you can write this is f of g of 1, right? Those make sense. All right, so I'm going to kind of two different ways, okay? The first way is the way that we just talked about, where I'm going to take my outside part, right, which is and write down everything except for what? Parentheses. 2 minus parentheses. I want to give myself enough room that I can write large parentheses, okay? On the inside, I'm going to write g of, but parentheses, square root 3 minus. What's that inside parenthesis there? 1. And now we need to solve our math, right? 3 minus 1 is 2. And then we'd have 2 minus the square root of 2, right, which would be some decimal if you want to round. Yeah? It's not f of 1, it's f of g. So this is f, the green is g, so it's f of g. The 1 is inside of the g function, isn't it? So all of this becomes x. So that whole piece right there becomes x. All right. Now let me explain it my second way, and this might be a different perspective on it. Okay. So let's go back up to right here. Okay. So now I showed you guys how to write it out all together in one step, right? That's what I want you guys to do, but tell you guys to think about what we're doing. What this says is f of g of 1. Well, this part is pretty easy to solve, isn't it? So we say g of 1 is square root of 3 minus 1, which is square root of 2, right? Now, they wanted to have f of g of 1, right? G of 1 is that's g of 1, isn't it? Oops, g of 1, isn't it? Yeah. So now when I have my f of x piece, when I use this function, it's going to be 2 minus, my answer goes there, square root of 2. Okay? Basically, on your outside function, you use the y value from the inside function. Okay, or you're kind of creating a chain, right? All right. There's our homework assignment.